Welcome to Illini Drive, WPGU 1071, not WPGU 1071 today. So a little update. WPGU studio has been flooded. Mother Nature really let us have it this weekend on Saturday. It was raining and it didn't stop raining, and it really just didn't stop raining for like pretty much the whole day. What was it, like 5, 6, 7 o'clock before it stopped raining? And it had been raining before we had woken up. So a long day of rain causes for the studio to have. This is so weird not having like like there's no like mic or like I'm not on air, like I'm just talking to you guys. I don't know if I should look at the camera or you guys or what I should do. But the studio's flooded. Actually, no, seriously. I mean, WPGU, they are a student-run radio station and are kind enough to let us talk on air all the time. And it's just really heartbreaking to see that much damage. I mean, it's a lot of damage to a lot of studio equipment, and we're not quite sure where it's going to be. I know a GoFundMe got put up on Saturday night to sort of raise some money, raise $500, hopefully, for the studio. I was talking to Brendyn a little bit about this. I'm not going to say the exact number, but it's a lot of damage that has been done. And so if there's any sort of, I don't know who's listening to this show, but if Shad Khan stumbles upon this somewhere, or it's just somebody that has like a soft spot in their heart for student radio and student media, I mean, that studio could really use it. It's not just us, it's also plenty of other shows that they do and almost constant live music. Me and Brendyn, I gave him a ride. We were on our way here today, and we turned on WPGU, and they are live on air now with alternative music. But with everything going on, I really doubt that there's going to be anything going on in the studio. But that's a little update. That's why when you're watching this, we're in the Urbana Public Television studio. Jason was kind enough to let us come in here and record our show and still be able to put out the content that you guys deserve. And because we couldn't wait, because yesterday was, not only was yesterday Sport Equinox, so, every single game of every single Big Four sport being played in the United States. But Illinois football started looking good this weekend. Not just started looking good because of the Wisconsin game, but started looking good because all of a sudden they took care of an opponent for 2 weeks in a row. They win at Purdue 24-6, a really wet game. Raining, as it was here. It was doing the exact same thing in West Lafayette. Credit to the fans that stuck through it. I had a few friends that were there for the game, ponchos and all. And really just a game played on the ground. Brandon Peters throws a total of 6 passes, goes 3 for 6, 3 different receivers, so there's not really a lot of receiving stats. And it really benefited Illinois because Purdue was such a pass-heavy team that, had taken that away from what they could do because of Mother Nature. I mean, it really allowed for Illinois to dominate the game the way that they did. 24-6, Dre Brown has a career game, 18 carries, 131 yards. Stanley Green, an impressive game defensively, 9 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. Jamal Milan with 4 tackles, all of them sacks, or 4 tackles, all of them for a loss, 1 of them a sack. All of a sudden, Illinois has momentum. And, sloppy game or not, a win's a win. And how about those Illini?
For real. I mean, I think this was like the weather was the perfect opportunity.
Perfect storm?
The perfect storm. I didn't want to use a cliche, but it was perfect storm for the Illini because we talked about it, and Purdue is such a pass-heavy offense, and throughout this whole season, that's the thing that always killed the Illini. And the fact that nobody could throw the ball and the Illini had to run, and they had to be able to make opportunities for Dre Brown, it was a perfect storm, and I think that's why they were able to pull it out.
This is just crazy because following the Wisconsin game, I think we all felt good about Purdue. And then once you knew that it was going to be like a rainy game, stormy game, Illinois would have to play this on the ground. And then you still felt good, but Dre Brown's been unbelievable all year. Like, he's been really good. And, I mean, we all talked about Reggie Corbin, all summer, like leading onto this fall season. And then Dre Brown is he grad now? Is he 5th-year senior now?
I don't think so.
No?
I think this is his last year of eligibility, but I do not believe that he's a 5th year.
Oh, because maybe.
I think maybe he's in grad school.
Yeah, maybe. Okay.
As a whatever.
Okay.
I don't know.
Never mind.
But maybe.
Yeah, he's awesome, and he's been really good. And especially after, he had so many issues with injuries, freshman. Yeah, redshirted his freshman year, missed all of 2016 with an injury, and then comes back. So he's been awesome, and a 2-game win streak feels pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you look at Illini's schedule right now, and they start off with their 2 non-conference wins and then drop a disappointing one against Eastern Michigan. and then a losing streak. All of a sudden, Illinois are back on, getting in the win column, back to 4-4, 500 team, 8 games into the year. A lot of people, definitely didn't see that coming after Eastern Michigan or Nebraska or Michigan, but things happen. It's football. It's the Illini. You're going to get reeled back in. Russ, when you think that you can give up. We were doing this last show after the win against Wisconsin, but you kind of rely on that being sort of a fluke, perfect, scenario. But Lovie Smith talked about it in the press conference that they were on the verge of a breakthrough, and all of a sudden Wisconsin happens. You get the momentum, you get that staple, victory, and then, your first ever back-to-back conference wins in his 4-year tenure. He really felt that there was something special about this team coming, and
this week
he gets into Purdue.
You got Rutgers at home for Dad's weekend.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They picked the perfect time to get hot, man.
The thing is, from wire to wire, start to finish, that was Illinois' game.
Yeah.
Purdue didn't score any of their 6 points until the end of the game. So, I haven't had, since we've been here, Nathan, especially since you've been here, Brendyn and Alex, I don't think I've watched an Illinois football game where they've just held the game and it felt like from kickoff until the end of the game, you felt like they were going to win that game.
Other than Akron beginning of this year, but then that was a game that you expected to feel that way because
But in conference play, off of a big win, it's a breath of fresh air.
After what Purdue did to you last year.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So Illinois got Rutgers coming in next weekend.
21-point favorites.
That's scary.
I
don't want to. Yeah. Well, even Lovey talked about that today. He was like, "We've been favorites before, and we've lost." So I think even though they're 21-point favorites, the good thing about this team is they don't feel like they've made it yet, and they have to play as well as they can to get to that 6-win mark to get to a bowl game. There's 2 games that they're probably favored to win. It's this Rutgers game and then Northwestern at the end of the year, but they could slip up, and they're kind of back in that kind of disappointing phase. Because right now, they're impressing us, but they have 4 games left. They have to finish the season. So.
And, boy, you talk about finishing a game. That was what Illinois was able to do with just, long possessions against Purdue. Purdue gets a touchdown at the very end of the game. It would have been really nice to get the first ever shutout in the Lovie Smith era, just to say that it was there. But you're very right. This Rutgers game, it's not just a very winnable game. It's a game that you should win. It's a game that even when Illinois was in the depths of the season with a 2-4 record and bad showing again, not a bad showing, but just the way that it ended against Michigan.
We were talking about Lovie Smith getting fired at the end of the year.
Yeah.
That's where we were.
Even then though, this Rutgers game at the depths of Illinois was still we're gonna win that game. That's a game that you should win.
They looked good against Liberty though. And granted, it's Liberty, but still,
they looked terrible.
Rutgers wasn't favored in that game. Right. Liberty was favored. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure Liberty was favored by 3 points in that game.
I think that's maybe Vegas and just people just forgetting just sort of the gap between Power 5 conferences and whatnot, because not to try to make us feel better, but Illinois probably is a bowl eligible team every year if they play in the MAC, if they play in the Mountain West, just because of what it is. And regardless, this Rutgers game you should win. And we're going to do this right now because we're going to look forward. The Michigan State game has been flexed to a later time slot. When it was originally supposed to be an 11 a.m. kickoff game, now it's sitting at a 2:30 kickoff game.
On FS1.
Then you have Iowa, who, Iowa's looked good all year. They've got a really good defense. They're a ranked team. Last time we played a ranked team, we can keep looking back on that Wisconsin game, but we know we've talked about how fluky that game was. Not to take anything away from Illinois, but just because you lose every offensive category and still able to pull out the win.
All the things that had to go right.
That's college football magic. Purdue though, it's not college football magic. It's a rainy game, so you all have to play in the rain. You all have to deal with it, and you all have to have people step up. And Reggie Corbin, Dre Brown, able to do that for Illinois, and they step up. So the Iowa game, though, you're probably still, Michigan State, I don't know which way it goes. Iowa, it's probably a loss. But the fact of the matter is, you're a 5-win team after this Rutgers game if things go the way that they should. And you have 3 straight shots at becoming bowl eligible, at playing a 13th game, something that was unfathomable to this fan base and even some of these players at points throughout this year. And that's something that this Illinois team has made me believe they can do things. They can pull off incredible wins. They can screw around and do it against Michigan State to make it a no-doubter and do it earlier, just because they have seemed like a team that has that magic in them, something that we are not used to as Illinois football fans.
I remember some people on the show saying that Illinois could win 6 games this year, but
yeah, I do too.
I remember. Huh? Who could that be? I don't know. I don't want to point fingers or anything, but it's just and some of those people were laughed at. Mm-hmm. Some of those people were ridiculed. Some people got 3 wins shouted in their face, but. No, we don't have to talk about that. Those people are not bitter.
Funny, looking back at the Wednesday show, our predictions all had Illinois scoring 28 or more points, and Purdue keeping it close though. But we all had Illinois wins, so credit to us.
Yeah. Good week for us.
I think that's why it was so important that it was raining though, is because they really want to see this Purdue passing offense on a beautiful day.
That's true.
Probably not. So.
That's true.
Hey, but they didn't, so that's all that matters. Yeah. Ground and pound,
They played a great game, so.
They did play a great game. Just to sort of unload some stats on you guys here really quickly before we get off Illinois football. Brendyn Peters goes 3 for 6 for 26 yards, averaging 4.5 yards per catch, or per what I'm trying to say, completion. Dre Brown, as I said, 18 carries, 131 yards, averaged 7.3 yards on the ground in sloppy, bad weather conditions. I mean, you got to credit that. Ravon Bonner, 10 carries, 48 yards. Reggie Corbin, 12 carries, 47 yards, touchdown. Brendyn Peters, 12 carries, 17 yards, and a touchdown. And then Illinois other touchdown coming off of an interception return. Alex, you had a take. Right before we went on there, because I just want to, because I'm pointing out right now the Illinois running backs. Dre Brown had the most yards, a career game. Got to keep feeding the guy who's hot. Ravon Bonner on less carries than Corbin and Peters had more yards than both of them. You think Reggie Corbin is getting, as you said, Keyshawn Vaughn?
Yeah. Okay, so when I first got
did we determine that that's the right way to say that? Like,
I think Keyshawn Vaughn.
Did we figure out the math on that?
Yeah. Because for reference, Keyshawn Vaughn, starting running back for Illinois. Kendrick Foster all of a sudden starts looking really good from that RB2 spot. And then Keyshawn Vaughn ends up entering the transfer portal, transfers away to Vanderbilt, where he has been amazing since, and has been rated as one of the better running backs in the nation since that transition. Maybe something that he just needed to get in a new environment, but also Illinois losing out on a big talent. Alex, what do you think is going on here? Or at least you're on watch.
Yeah, I'm on watch, man. Like, when guys get hot, I mean, like, they're hot. And I love the way Dre Brown's been playing, especially even, with Wisconsin. He had a couple nice runs there, just seeing him, the way he's been playing. I mean, Reggie Corbin, like, the way Reggie's been this year, it's like, it's not worrisome in the sense. I just feel like he hasn't, early on we talked about that he hadn't had the, opportunities to really get going. But, like, you just see, like, Dre Brown taking advantage of these opportunities and doing well. So, I mean, that's where I'm just kind of like, hey, like, Dre Brown's getting going here, man. We saw it with Kendrick Foster to Keyshawn Vaughn. We kind of saw it with Mike Epstein to Kendrick Foster. And then we kind of saw it with Reggie Corbin to Mike Epstein. And then now we're kind of seeing it with Dre Brown to Reggie Corbin.
It's interesting because Dre Brown is just now starting to get double-digit carries. He hadn't had more than 9 until Wisconsin when he got 11. And he had 18 against Purdue, which is by far not career high, but season high. Maybe a career high. I could look at that. But, I mean, this is what you need, though, because I think Reggie, the hip pointer that bothered him earlier this season is probably still a lingering thing. If you're running back, your hips are kind of a big deal. So I feel like you should, it's a big deal. So maybe that's still bothering him, and Dre has just stepped in and crushed it.
Yeah, I just think with Illini football these past couple years, I mean, like when you've seen sort of like that top running back go down somehow, some way, you've seen another guy step up, and I think that's something underlying that isn't big, but I think something that Illinois football should be fortunate to be consistent.
And this is in all levels of football, professional to college. I think it's you've seen sort of the dual back look become more popular. I think Reggie Corbin still has that big playability that makes him so incredible and dynamic, and still sort of the focal point of Illinois' run game. But Dre Brown having that consistency, sort of kind of like an old school running back look of a guy that can run through the tackles, and just get a consistent 4 or 5 yards if you need it, a guy that you can run on the goal line. And I mean, Reggie Corbin is sort of the modern running back, and I think that Dre Brown's kind of the old school running back, and then having Ravon Bonner in there too. I think it's a load management thing with Reggie Corbin, like you said, with a hip pointer and just injuries in the past that might still nag him. to run those other guys. And then having Brandon Peters get on the ground that many times this game is really helpful too, especially since a lot of people said that he was a statue coming in. But
6 pass attempts is still that's a preposterous number.
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's a ridiculous number.
Good on Rod Smith to stick with it, even though it was probably, it's somewhat predictable. It's somewhat,
it was working still.
But why, why worry about it? I think Illinois broke Wisconsin. Because they looked bad. I mean, it's Ohio State. You're going to look bad. But 52 yards from Jonathan Taylor. Ohio State running all over them. But I think J.K. Dobbins is worthy of more credit than he gets with just the amount of hype Justin Field gets. I don't know. 38-7 in that game. Wisconsin goes down. Second straight loss. They are completely out of everything that they thought they were in for at the beginning of the year. I mean, I don't even know if they're looking at a Rose Bowl anymore, the way that Minnesota plays and the way that Minnesota's been playing. I mean, that game is all of a sudden going to be the biggest game in the Big Ten West. And credit to the guys in the Champaign Room that pointed this out. Illinois somewhat controls its own destiny in the Big Ten West if Minnesota loses. And I'll read more into this and have more up to date on this. But essentially, if Illinois wins out, Minnesota just needs to lose one game, I think it could be Wisconsin, and Illinois would technically be the Big Ten West champions. Which I don't really know how that all works out, because I think it's the fact that against the Big Ten West, Illinois only lost to Nebraska, and they beat Wisconsin, they beat Purdue, because the rest of the games are against the Big Ten East, and I don't know. It's kind of crazy.
He's
to
really
think about.
Talking himself into this.
I'm not talking myself into this. I still see a loss at Iowa, and I'll say it. I think anything can happen against Michigan State, but Michigan State's had a tough run of three straight top 10 opponents, so their 4-4 record is a lot better than Illinois' 4-4 record, because.
And East Lansing is tough, though.
Yeah.
If you're going to go to Michigan State, like if it was a home game for Illinois, I'd feel better about that. But I'm sticking with 6 wins. I'm going to double down from my preseason prediction.
Yeah, I mean,
that was preseason, right?
Yep. Me and Alex called 5-7. You and Brendyn called 6-6. Both are very much in play. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, for sure.
Me and Alex are smacking our win total on Saturday. Knock on wood, but I believe that. And then the rest of the 3 games, I mean, you guys could hit, or screw it. Let's go over and let's go somewhere fun. Right now, ESPN has bowl projections, and they have Illinois, if they become bowl eligible, looking at the Armed Forces Bowl in Fort Worth, or one of those crazy bowl games. It was in Levi's Stadium.
If it was Fort Worth, would you go?
Dude, if it's either one, I would want to go.
Yeah.
I was talking to Brendyn about how my press credential could probably get me there.
No, it would.
The only problem is we're a student-run newspaper. It's not like we have the funds to just start shelling out to student reporters, especially ones that.
But if it's Fort Worth, that's not.
No, that's drivable.
Yeah, it's right there.
And I have friends that are like, listen, if this game's not in the Bahamas, we're driving there. So I don't know if I fully believe them and if I'll have to call their bluff, but yeah, if they're in a bowl game, I'm 100% emailing whoever the director, whoever have to about if my credential works, and if it works, then I'm gonna have a hard time looking at that and being like, no, I can't go. Yeah, that's crazy. That's I mean. Yeah, go Illini, because I could really use that.
21-point favorites against Rutgers this weekend.
What a game! Also, Dad's weekend.
Love to see it.
And Illinois always plays well on Dad's weekend.
Yeah, and the stadium is going to be pretty full of Illini dads that are like, yeah, we got to go to the game because I'm an alum, and here Illinois is playing really good football against an opponent that they're probably going to beat. Like you bet that's going to be the most full state game of the year. That's going to beat Nebraska.
Yeah, probably. I mean, you imagine because people expect wins and they come out for expected wins.
And because, I mean, just on ticket sales alone, it's probably 2 tickets per person. It's probably, a son and their dad, a daughter and their dad, maybe mom comes down too, maybe there's multiple siblings here. So you're looking at somewhere between 2 to 4 tickets per person that's dedicating themselves to going. So I think stadium can be pretty packed. Student section, probably just does still student section because parents can't go there even on Dad's weekend, could they? No, right?
They can.
Can they?
I think so.
Yeah, you can walk between the student section and
nobody really.
Nobody's gonna be like, hold up.
Right.
I mean, they're happy that people are in the
there
stands
anyway.
to begin with. Yeah. What's going to be really tough is the look against Northwestern with everybody gone on Thanksgiving break.
Yeah.
Even though Illinois will be fighting for 6, as it seems, it's going to be.
I mean, it's going to be like the Iowa. Granted, Iowa just fell off the rails so fast in that game, but you lost control of that game so fast. But I mean, just Thanksgiving break is just like a whole.
Yeah, you're like all the students are going to want to head home, and the students aren't necessarily the ones really driving ticket sales at this point.
Right.
But even then, it's just going to be hard to do.
Unless you beat Michigan State too, you're just really pushing it.
Yeah,
Just really going for it.
We are talking ourselves into it right
Oh
now.
yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, I was at 6 wins anyway, so it's not as big of a jump for me to say 7.
Yeah. All right. So that's going to do it for our Illinois football talk. Well, I'm just saying it is, and and here's the unique thing about us not having a show in the studio this week is that we're not getting. There's no ads for us to run. When we put this out as a video, there will be segments that are in between when we talk about what we want to talk about. But we kind of have free range of sort of the time that we want to spend on things. Illinois volleyball played this weekend.
They did.
And our very own Brendyn Jones, who covers Illinois volleyball for the Daily Illini.
What they do, Brendyn?
In studio with us. Yeah, what they do.
So they had just come off a 3-loss skid against 3 top 10 teams. Wisconsin, Nebraska, or Wisconsin, Purdue. No, oh my goodness.
Penn State.
Wisconsin, Penn State, and Minnesota. Thank you. And they played this weekend, and it was their pink match in October, obviously, for breast cancer awareness. And they beat Ohio State 3-0. The sets were kind of close, but they handled them, pretty well. They were able to come out and play really well and kind of get back on track because that 3-game stretch, talking to them, they know, they learned some stuff about it, and they were able to kind of just have to go through it because, those are 3 of the top 10 teams in the nation. But that coming out and how they performed against Ohio State, being able to not only beat them, but beat them convincingly and sweep them in front of Huff Hall, I think it was a good way for them to get back on track.
Looking at sort of these last 2 games, Beth Prince has kind of come out of nowhere. The way that she's played, we haven't talked a lot about her on this show, but it was her second straight. It was her second straight outing with double-digit kills against Ohio State. Do you think that's sort of a product? Obviously, the Penn State game's close, but do you think that's sort of a product of sort of like a bigger win and other people stepping up because of maybe some rest, or where do you think that her production has come from?
I think a theme that we've seen throughout the whole season is the Illini are trying to get production out of people that, other people than Jackie Quaid. I think it's easy to lean back on her because she's so good, but teams do game plan for her, and we've seen her production go down a little bit. She gets still probably the most amount of kills on the team, but she does attempt the most, and her percentage isn't the highest. So anytime that the Illini can find somebody else to get kills, they're going to go to them, whether that's Beth Prince, whether that's Megan Cooney, whether that's Bruna Vrankovic, or anybody else who's able to hit the ball. I think that's the good thing about the Illini is that every girl on that team is able to be productive in multiple ways, whether that's on defense and offense, whether that's setting and being able to hit. So I think all of them are so talented that it's easy to kind of find somebody else to step in for a game or to be able to maybe not go to Jacqueline Quaid as much.
Okay. This coming Friday, Illinois plays Michigan on Fox Sports 1. So it's a game nationally televised if you have a package with Fox Sports 1, which I feel like most cable providers have. So yeah, that's going to be really worth watching. That's at Huff Hall. And then Saturday against Michigan State, also in Huff Hall. That one not nationally broadcasted, though. So get to Huff Hall, watch the best team on campus. We keep saying that. Illinois football obviously is doing Illinois football is doing things, and Illinois volleyball isn't necessarily the same team that they were last year. But I stand by Illinois volleyball is still. They're number 19 in the country right now. Yeah. There's no other Illinois team ranked. Illinois football is a long way from being ranked. So go out, make sure to check them out. Enough about the Illini.
Okay.
Well, all right then.
we're gonna transition on to the national stage with the National Football League, who had a weekend full of games and a weekend full of feelings. And I know that 3 of you guys are feeling them right now because this Bears team's under 500, and I'm going to make you guys talk about it because we talk about the Bears when we talk about NFL football, and they lose to a under 500 Chargers team, 17-16, and we're just going to start right with the meat of what has been going on and that last drive. Because Chargers take the lead, Bears get a chance at the end of the game, put together a winning drive. It's a sight seen too many times at Soldier Field before because one time is too many, of a coach's decision to go for that field goal at the end. I mean, there was a minute left and a timeout, and Matt Nagy decides instead to ride with the 41 field goal attempt from Eddie Pinheiro, who has been De Niro all season and been very good for the Bears, but he had doinked one off of the post earlier that game. His defense of the call, I would do it again. He said it not in that press conference, but also in today's Monday, morning press conference. He very much stands by that he made the call that he was going to make every single time because that's what he believes is the right call to make. I'm not even like, I usually tease some sort of like how we feel about Mitch or that sort of thing. How we feel about Nagy right now? Because
just stop trying to be the smartest guy in the room all the time. I said this at the beginning of the year, and I get that, and not even that. It's just you talk about how much you trust your guys, how much you trust your offense, and that is a scared call that shows that you don't trust your guys and that you have no trust in them. Even though Montgomery was cooking all day, even though Mitch had made some good throws in that game, and so then you just say, actually, nope, crunch time, too risky, don't want to trust these guys. We're going to just take the 2-yard loss on the kneel and, hope for the best. You have to trust your guys, especially if you want to have this culture that you've been preaching all year and ever since you were hired of, we're a winning team, we stick together, yada, yada, yada. And then you go and do that. And obviously everyone said, hey, Eddie's our guy, we got his back. But also for the people mad at Eddie Pinheiro, this is a dude who has a pinched nerve in his knee still.
Just stop.
This still is a great situation for him.
This game is not on Eddie Pinheiro.
Not
at all. You're dumb. You don't watch football if you put this on.
Hold on. Okay, before you guys start defending your boy that much, he misses 2 field goals in this game.
He does, but Mitch Trubisky throws an interception and fumbles the ball pretty much untouched. I think if anybody, and Matt Nagy is the one who didn't try to score in that, and took the knee instead of trying to even get closer or scoring a touchdown. I think, yes, Eddie Pinheiro missed 2 field goals. That's 6 points. But the play calling was suspect at best. And Mitch Trubisky in the fourth quarter was not good. And this is a thing that we've talked about. If Mitch Trubisky doesn't throw this Bears team out of games, this Bears team can be good. Yesterday, he threw the Bears team out of the game. And that is the most frustrating part.
The Bears ran, 9, 10 plays from inside the Chargers' 10-yard line. I think the net was 6 plays, or 6 yards, and 4 of those yards came on David Montgomery's touchdown run.
Yeah.
So you had a handful of other plays that got you exactly 2 yards and 0 points.
Their red zone offense was
so
atrocious yesterday. It was
terrible.
so bad.
So bad.
Some stats. Mitch Trubisky, 23 for 35, 253 yards and 1 interception. David Montgomery,
big stat guy.
27 carries, 135 yards, 1 touchdown on my bench in my fantasy league.
So my bench.
Phillip Rivers, 19 for 29, 201 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Melvin Gordon, 8 carries, 31 yards and a touchdown. Austin Eckler caught an 11-yard pass for a touchdown. Those 2 running backs continue to be good. Although it wasn't really a phenomenal standout game for anybody involved. The Chargers only had 231 yards. Reminder, this Bears defense, really freaking good. Chargers only had 11 first downs, and they had 1/3 of possession. The Bears really dominated the total possession of the football. It's just the fact of the matter that this Bears offense can't move the football. And as good as David Montgomery looked, he had to do it on high volume, and even then, Trubisky fumbles the ball untouched. He's got interceptions. Matt Nagy's play calling inside the 10-yard line baffles me. And then his defense of it was that if every team knows that you're going to run, why would I run the football? Because then they're just going to stop the run and we're going to lose 2 or 3 yards instead of, when he decides to take the knee at the end of the game, instead of running a play to maybe try to get you a little bit closer. And you know what? You're a little bit closer, that ball doesn't hook as much because it started true.
Yeah.
And then it started coming left.
Plenty of time to put Pinheiro in better position, and it's like, why not? Like, and what kind of frustrates me is like today he said like, Trubisky's, my guy, this is our guy. Well, if he's your guy, why didn't you run an extra play on that last drive to get in better field goal position? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. There's just no identity with this offense, and he gives off this impression that there is, but obviously there isn't.
Yeah.
Apparently on tonight's Monday Night Countdown, Louis Riddick said, the writing is on the wall for Mitch Trubisky and that Matt will be looking for a new quarterback. And Louis Riddick is like noted very close with Matt Nagy. And so that's really fun. That's really, really cool. The thing is, no one's available, even if you wanted to do that. The Jaguars said they're not going to trade Foles. I doubt the Saints are going to give up Bridgewater until they know what Breeze is doing as far as his career is concerned.
Do you want Mariota?
I mean...
Do you want... Who?
I mean, I wouldn't hate Mariota, to be honest, and that's just where we're at right now.
Honestly, I wouldn't mind Nagy just calling out Mitch, man. Like, I feel like in a sense he's just been defending him too much at the point where, yes, granted, he's young, you got to give him time to develop, but he's at the point where, we need to see growth, and, he's just at this stalemate, or, he just dips, and it's like, dude, you got to play better at the end of the day.
What game was it where everybody made a big deal that Matt Nagy, yelled at Mitch Trubisky and was like play better and some profanity or something?
Was that the Minnesota game?
I think that was the Minnesota
I want to say it was the Minnesota game.
Why can't...
No, he got knocked out of the Minnesota game.
Oh, you're right.
Was it right before?
It was either Broncos or... It was probably Broncos.
No, Broncos. It was earlier this season.
I was going to say, it was either Packers or Broncos.
It was Broncos because, he came back and won. But, why can't Matt Nagy, have that fire in front of the press, if that makes sense? I think Mitch Trubisky said, I love when my coach, coaches like that or whatever. And, everybody who had a good sense of, I think, how football culture is, said that's what a coach should do. If your quarterback is struggling, you hold them accountable. Why can't he hold Mitch Trubisky accountable in front of the media? I think that kind of shows that there is that lack of trust that he'll be able to respond positively, which is not something that you want out of a quarterback that right now we're looking at, has a future as at the head of this team, because there's not really anybody available that can make an instant impact.
You guys aren't calling for Chase Daniel, right?
No.
Well, and you kind of laugh when I ask that, but I mean,
it's a fair question.
I mean, Nagy gets asked it. He says he's sticking with Trubisky. I think it's smart to stick with Trubisky. I think that if you start doing almost like what Purdue did in their game with pulling the starter and having the backup come in, and then their backup quarterback is the one that throws the touchdown. What the Titans kind of have going on right now, where if Tannehill has one bad game, all of a sudden Mariota could be thrust right back in the lineup. You start doing that, you just play being a quarterback is such a mental game.
Of course.
That I mean, obviously it's about what comes out on the field, and it's not in what a coach sees in practice or whatever. And I fully believe that Chase Daniel's not the answer for the Bears' problems, because the Bears' problems would continue with just a mediocre quarterback if it's Chase Daniel. So you're not calling for Chase Daniel?
No, I don't know. I guess for me, I'm calling off for Nagy to be smart in the sense of just be a fundamental coach. Just call fundamental plays like we just saw. We've been preaching for him to call more run plays. And what did they do? They ran the ball more, and Montgomery had a nice game. Mitch Trubisky's playing bad. Dude, call out your quarterback. Just call him out.
Bears also choose not to ever use Mike Davis, who they traded for.
They signed him. Sounded like a $2.5 million per year salary.
Okay, so a guy you paid.
Yes.
Essentially the same sort of urgency or same sort of outlook of a guy that you trade for. And then you have Tariq Cohen, who Nagy showed last year in good, in a large sample size. If you use him in unique ways, he's a very skilled playmaker. He still makes people nervous when he's returning the ball, doing punt returns. Where's the hope right now for a Bears fan base? And I don't say that, snarkily.
In the defense?
But even I'm talking going forward.
Just going forward.
I mean, tell me where you hope the Bears do the offseason and the draft, sort of with signing players, just because it doesn't look like the Bears are a playoff team this year,
right?
Especially with the gauntlet they have coming up, and we'll get into that after I hear you guys answer this question. But where's the hope?
I mean, it starts with, if you cut Mike Davis before week, 12 or something, you get a 4th-round pick. So you need to do that because you're already missing a 1st-rounder. And, I mean, you have 2 second-rounders, but all these trades have kind of depleted your draft assets. So definitely, if you're not going to use Mike Davis, just cut him, eat the money, and get that 4th-round pick because we know that Ryan Pace can get value from guys in the 4th round. Eddie Jackson being the pinnacle of that, obviously, who is now an all-pro safety. But it's just, the defense is still really good, so that doesn't need work. I mean, you just got to hope someone slides in one of the quarterbacks. Like, you have to hope Fromm slides, or you have to hope Herbert even slides, or because now with Joe Burrow moving up, some guys are going to fall. So you have to hope it's someone you like and someone that you can make work, or you just try to find a bridge. If Drew Brees doesn't retire and Teddy Bridgewater is available, then you have to go get him because I think he's only 28.
Yeah,
I think he's still pretty young. Or you roll the dice on Mariota, or you roll the dice on Tannehill because it just seems like even this defense and then the receivers are losing faith in Mitch, and there's still 8 games left.
So I'll say, so essentially what you're saying, and we'll get to your guys' answers because I'm asking you the same question, is you're done. You're out on Mitch.
It would take a lot for me to prove, it would take them going 6-2 in these next 8 games and getting back in that playoff spot, and then him playing well in the playoffs as well. Proving that he can win you the games, not that he's not losing the game, that he can win you the games and bring these moments and make these throws. Like that scramble that put them in field goal range, that's a winning play, and that that's what gives you hope. But the thing is, Pat McAfee said this on his show this morning, he's going to show you these flashes of hope, and then he's just going to do the same thing. You're going to give him another year, and it's going to be the same thing. And that's what I'm most afraid of, that he's going to get another year.
You too. Where are you at on Mitch?
I think where I'm at on Mitch or the whole team?
I'm gonna stick with Mitch right now, and then I'm gonna ask for your guys' improvements.
I'm with Jake, as in if he doesn't show drastic improvement, throwing the ball, being a manager of the game, and not throwing the Bears out of games, that's the only way I can look at him and be like, okay, how do we progress from here? But I think I'm totally out on the fact that he is the undoubted franchise quarterback going on for however long this Bears team is together. I can't see a realistic scenario that he is able to be able to lead this team to a deep playoff run or a playoff run of any kind.
Alex?
I mean, yeah, honestly, I'm just right with these guys. And I feel like if there's some type of hope, even though I'm the pessimist of this group, if there's any type of hope you want to have for this team for this season, is that, we've seen flashes from Mitch before, and, he's talented enough where he can make those big plays, like Jake said. So, if you want some type of hope, you have that hope that, hey, he's talented enough, you've seen it before, that he can do it. Do I think it's going to happen? No. Am I out on him? Kind of, but it's you're not going to really get anybody else this season, so it's you kind of got to roll with it. Kind of like what Jake said, Mitch Brendyn, Mitch literally needs to play well. This, he moving forward, it has to be, what's the word I'm looking for? The offense needs to play sound. They have to play a complete game. I have to watch this game and watch this offense and be convinced, this defense has these past 2 years, and say, hey, I'm good. I feel comfortable. I feel fine. If there's 2 minutes left and this offense comes up, I feel comfortable with Mitch driving them up the field and getting them that touchdown or sending them up in field goal range, and hopefully Pinheiro doesn't miss it and all that. So
you have to stick with the Chiefs and Packers, high octane, top tier offenses. You have to be able to stick with them for me to believe in you.
Yeah.
And then too, I feel like moving forward, I mean, once again, if Mitch continues to play bad, you just got to start planning ahead. You got to hope somebody falls down the draft board, or just moving forward, looking ahead, who's coming up, college-wise, because, I mean, it's hard to find quarterbacks in this.
I really never thought I'd be looking at 2020 mock drafts. I thought we were done.
Legit.
I thought we were done as Bears fans looking for the mock drafts. It stinks. But, objectively, as you as an outside fan, what, and I mean, you've been very clear about saying this entire time, not snarkily, not so now, objectively, coming from you, what is you as the guy looking in at the Bears?
I think that Nagy, and I was going to ask you guys this, but I'll just sound off on myself, or do it myself, is that I think Nagy's play calling this year has destroyed what Bears fans thought Mitch could be. because I think that I was hating on Mitch even when the Bears were 12-4, saying he can't throw more than 10 yards downfield, and I mean the numbers are there. What's crazy is how much the numbers support that when it comes to like air travel yards. Of like how Mitch isn't confident in himself, where he'll see open receivers and choose the check down, or where Nagy will just call 4 plays that all run sort of like 3-yard outs or like 5-yard comebacks, and just like really plays to like Trubisky's strength of short passes. And I think that what hurts is that Nagy sort of created this offense that was supposed to showcase Mitch's throwing ability and somewhat downfield when that wasn't there at the beginning of the year in the games against an improved Packers defense and a good Broncos defense. All of a sudden Chase Daniel comes back in. Now Mitch sort of has this lack of confidence, and Nagy sort of saw it in those 2 games against objectively better defenses. Like I'm looking at the next game, it's the Eagles. They have weak secondary. That's an opportunity that maybe you try to work Mitch through the air. But I think that his play calling has been so suspect, and the lack of trust is there. Therefore, bringing the Bears fans' lack of trust out, because I think that the ideal thing for the Bears going forward, and this is me trying to fix the Chicago Bears, something that I never thought that I would willingly do. You utilize Mitch's running ability more with more bootlegs, more sort of RPOs that are very simple and have 1 or 2 routes, and if it's not there, you run him because he's an athletic guy. Because if you get the edge rusher to bite on an RPO, you have free 6-7 yards of running lane, especially with how Trubisky moves. You try to use that more. You try to run more sets that have David Montgomery running like a classic running back. I mean, you guys all talked about this guy so much in the preseason about how good he looked. And I did in this game. But that was because they finally used him in this game. If they created an offense where Trubisky never had to throw more than 6 yards down the field, and David Montgomery ran classic, you guys heard that stupid I formation quote that Nagy had about how they didn't come in here to have me to run the I formation, and then the few times they ran the I formation, the Bears offense looked like a good classic NFC North offense. Run the I formation a little bit more, Matt Nagy. So you do that with David Montgomery, and then you find ways to just have Mitch and Tariq Cohen in space. I mean, you take that offense that you ran last year, you insert it right back in, and you run those plays, those games, that game against the Rams, those games you had last year that are literally on-camera footage of the Bears being better. And now people are knowing how to game plan a little bit more for Trubisky, and he tried to switch it up. But I think he tried to switch it up to the point that the offense is unrecognizable now. And not only is it unrecognizable, it's terrible. And it can't move the ball. I mean, it can't score within 10 yards. I mean, I think you go back to what you did last year, and even though people might game plan for it, in complete disregard of what Matt Nagy has said after this game, because I think most people are hating on the opinion that if people know you're going to run the ball, you still run the ball. Look at the Packers and the way they closed that game out against the Chiefs last night. The Chiefs, Andy Reid classic, punts the ball with 5 minutes left with like a 4th and 3 about at midfield. And what the Packers do is that even though the Chiefs know they're going to run the ball, they continue to run the ball. They just give different looks. Rodgers throws one pass, and that's Aaron Rodgers' magic of being able to run to the sideline and throw it, keep it in bounds. But they know they're going to run the ball, and they just ran the ball, and they continue to run the ball, and then they ran the clock out, and the Chiefs, who thought they were going to get one more shot at least, are sitting there just completely baffled about how an offense just ran 5 minutes in 3 drives and 3 first downs. So if I'm the Bears, I stick with Trubisky. I think that
for just this season,
you have to get. I think you have to give him one more because
you run it back?
I think you have to give him one more year because, first off, you tell Nagy. I say like, listen, like everybody in Chicago loved you last year, but everybody sees your flaws right now. You need to bring in like an OC or somebody that can like try to like calm down this sort of like whatever you think that you're doing right now, because it is clearly not working. Our offense is the basement of the league, even though we have one of the best defenses in the league. We can't win games. So I think you try to develop a scheme around Trubisky's ability, and you see how that works for the rest of this year. But I mean, as you said, I mean the Bears don't have a pick until the second round, and the quarterbacks are going to go early in this round. I think you wait until you have that first round pick 2 years from now, and then maybe use that on a quarterback, or maybe you see improvement out of Mitch because we have seen better games, and I still don't think that he can do it. But I think that you're stuck with this. I think you traded for this guy. You traded up for this guy. You're number 2 in the draft. You pick this guy. You have to keep running with this guy and game plan around what he can do. The same way that past offenses way back when would game plan around quarterbacks that didn't really have the throwing ability. The way that the way that the Bears did last year, because Trubisky never impressed me last year regardless of the wins, and I think that you just have to find that middle ground, and you have to utilize Tariq Cohen more and David Montgomery. Not to keep bringing them up, but the Packers last night have 2 running backs that do primarily their offensive damage in the pass game, and then sometimes as running backs, and that's what you have, because I don't think the Bears receiving core is that good, as much as I've heard, Anthony Miller and Taylor Gabriel and Cordell Patterson getting inserted in there, and as we talked about that we've been done on Trey Burton on this show for a while, but
Trey Burton's canceled.
You got it. I think your best 2 weapons are Tariq Cohen and David Montgomery, and I think that you have to utilize them in a way that you have like a passing back and a running back, and then you find other little things that Trubisky's good at and run that as much as you can. Bears upcoming games at Eagles, which is winnable because they're secondary suspect. Granted, that's the one team that beat the Packers this year, and that sort of just says, their ceiling is very high and they can be very good. And
Jordan Howard revenge game, too.
And they just whopped the Bills. A good Bills team. Home against the Lions, that could go either way. Lions, they're in kind of a slump right now. I don't know. You can win that game against the Lions. Those are 2 winnable games, although they're 2 very, they could go the other way. The way the games have been going for the Bears right now, they're going the other way. At Rams, the Rams look good. Home against the Giants, that's a win. At Lions, it could be different because it's on the road. And then a freaking Cowboys, Packers, Chiefs, and Vikings to end the year. That's the thing that hurts about this Bears team, is that the little bit of hope you have are in 3 games, maybe 4.
Yeah, the easy part of the schedule is over. Now you go into this gauntlet that you knew was coming up, and hope for the best.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Elsewhere around the league, Packers look really good, I have to say it.
They do look really good.
They're a complete team. They haven't had this efficient of an offense since that 2011 year, and I'm not predicting. I've been adamant about being, not buying all the way into the Packers hype as much as I, watch the games, and they beat some really good teams, and they run a really good, scheme. The Niners look phenomenal.
So good. 51 points is just against anyone, anytime is just preposterous.
Next week, we finally get a Patriots against a very quality opponent. I cannot wait for Brady versus Lamar Jackson.
Well, that 4-game stretch is hard. I think it's the Texans, the Ravens, the Chiefs, and there's one other team. I was looking at their schedule last night, but I think in those 4 games, they could possibly lose to. Is it the Eagles?
Ravens, Eagles, Cowboys, Texans, Chiefs.
Texans, Chiefs. So that 5 games, obviously depending on...
Somebody beat them.
Yeah, I'm thinking they lose 2 of those 5, and they still end 14-2. But and it's not like that they'll end with the best record. Depending on how the 49ers do. But
49ers haven't played like a real quarterback.
But yes,
other than
same.
Goff.
Yeah, same with... Yeah, so we'll see. I think the Patriots' next 5 games will be very good games, and I think it'll have to test Brady's capability with this offense, because we've seen the defense be really, really, really good this year, but Brady and that offense hasn't had to be good because they haven't really had to go out and beat anybody, because their defense has been able to just destroy other teams. So these next 5 games will be some really good games to see whether or not Brady and this offense can perform to what they have, what Patriots fans have been used to under Brady in the last 15 years.
It's not even their offense; their defense is ridiculous.
Well, yeah.
I'm pumped for Lamar Jackson versus a turnover-forcing defense, because that was sort of a knock on him. It's a reason he didn't win the Heisman his senior year, was because kind of runs a little bit recklessly and maybe tries to make some throws that he shouldn't make. But I'm really excited to see just the way that looks. Speaking of teams with tough stretches, and in division, the Vikings go at Chiefs, at Cowboys, home against the Broncos, and then at Seahawks for the next 4 games. I think it's also time for them to prove, how good they are. Losses to the Packers and the Bears, so 2 tough divisional losses that are that hold them back in terms of their chances of winning the division. But those are games that Mahomes hasn't been ruled out for that Chiefs game, but Matt Moore, a lot of credit to him, because he looked a lot better than people expected, and I think that speaks a lot to Andy Reid's ability to prepare a quarterback for just everything. And I don't think that takes anything away from who Patrick Mahomes is and how special he is, but I think it shows that not only is it Patrick Mahomes, but it's Andy Reid that makes that offense so freaking good. Also Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, LaShawn McCoy, how they got him, wow. So I think, I'm excited for those upcoming Vikings games for that exact same reason.
Shout out to the Colts again.
Yeah, Colts keep winning. Flacco calls out Vic Fangio.
That was wild.
Literally, I mean, just was like saying, I don't know why we're not doing this, and just really brings in like what's going on here. And Fangio then immediately says like, oh, Flacco's got a neck injury. He'll be sitting this next week. Called that on Monday. Did not say anything about it in the post-game press conference.
Somebody said, somebody said they were looking at Joe Flacco's neck and discovered that he had a spine.
Wow. I like when quarterbacks talk the truth in the media, and they say really how they feel. But Joe Flacco hasn't been playing so good that he can really say that about Vic Fangio. But then again, Vic Fangio doesn't really have hard coaching experience before this. I mean, he hasn't been a head coach.
Yeah.
Who's everybody's MVP right now? Because I don't think it's Rodgers, regardless of the media hype that goes around him right now. I still think it's Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson. That play from last night where he got kicked in the face. His eye was like, after the game,
He
it was
legit got
swollen,
kicked in
and
the
he was
face.
literally just like, touchdown. I was like, are you serious? Like, come on now. Like, it's either Russell Wilson. For me, it's Russell Wilson, then Deshaun Watson, then a whole bunch of guys that are like right there that could get into that conversation. That's like Christian McCaffrey. That's
Jacoby Brissett.
Jacoby Brissett.
Aaron Rodgers, I think, is right under.
Yeah.
Just a lot of people. So.
Rodgers doesn't do he doesn't put up the crazy numbers. He's very efficient, and that's one thing.
6 touchdowns in one game.
And that was like whatever.
Yeah.
But like not like his numbers
we did not
didn't like
talk about that nearly enough.
Well, no,
Yeah, I didn't
because you
wanna
guys
talk about that
begged me not to.
I was like, can we not
That was
talk
after
about
the Saints game. You guys begged. Brendan said, "Please
I was
don't
like,
talk
please,
about
let's
the
not
Packers."
talk about that. I remember that. I don't want to talk about that.
No, but I mean, just overall, like my buddy was trying to talk to me about how like Matt Moore looked good against his defense, and maybe he outshone Aaron Rodgers last night, and I was like, man, like that sidearm throw that like looks like it was. They talked about this on Pardon My Take this morning, where it's like a classic Russell Wilson thing of if you throw it to the back of the end zone, the only person that catches it is your guy, or it's incomplete. Rodgers did that, but like with a sidearm, like J look,
falling back.
Yeah.
It was
Submarine throw.
tired of it.
Yeah.
I think if Deshaun Watson beats the Patriots in a couple weeks, like play as well, like he beats the Patriots, I think that probably skyrockets him to the top leader, I guess.
Yeah.
Did the Seahawks play the Patriots? No, right?
No. That'd be good though.
That would be good.
But yeah, I think I'm still rocking Russell Wilson. McCaffrey still carries that offense.
Yeah.
In a game that they lose 13-51, McCaffrey 14 carries, 117 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, I'm not saying like get him off the Panthers because of they're still a viable team and they're 4-3 and that was their first away loss. But he carries that offense, and I haven't seen a running back do that since Adrian Peterson did with whoever was quarterback with the Vikings at the time.
Was that Christian Ponder at the time?
It was that era.
It must have been.
Ponder, wow.
Right?
I want to
Because he was the last quarterback before Cousins. No, it was Keenum then Cousins. But Keenum wasn't there when AP was there, so it must have been Christian Ponder.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a wild situation.
That's the power of.
Was that like the 09 Vikings?
No, that was this decade.
Was it?
No, I think it was 09 when he won MVP.
Was it?
I think he was comeback player of the year and MVP.
Right, because he came back from the ACL.
After the ACL.
That's crazy.
Doing quick research here.
Yeah,
no.
We were all Vikings.
Oh, it was in 2012.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was gonna say. So
Okay.
I thought it was this decade.
Yeah, because the 09 Vikings were the Brett Favre Vikings.
Okay, that's why I'm like, I know there's one.
2012 would have been Joe Webb and Christian Ponder.
There you go. There you go. And that's what McCaffrey's doing right now with this Cam Newton and Kyle Allen tandem.
situation.
Kyle Allen, it was fun, but you are you're
Adrian
still
Peterson was really good.
Yeah.
And
now he's bounced around to like 4 different teams since then.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's see.
Well, hold on. I would like to hop off football because we're
with the
we're-
Cardinals.
I feel like half a season though.
We're kind of running out of time, so I'm going to hop off of the football talk because I was talking to Brendyn about we were talking about how important it was that we got this show out today because of just all the craziness that's going on. We're in the middle of the World Series. Houston won all 3 in Washington D.C.
Knew that was gonna happen.
There was a lot of other storylines that went along with that game, but we're going to stick to baseball as much as we possibly can. Astros reminding everybody, hey, this is why we were the betting favorite. This is why everybody thought that we were going to win this thing, is because here we are winning all of these things. Big loss for the Nationals that Scherzer isn't able to go in Game 5. That was crazy, and you felt the hurt in his voice at the press conference.
This is a guy who pitched through the day he broke his nose on a failed bunt in batting practice, still pitched.
And a guy that after he took a line drive off of his knee, later that inning, I think on the next batter, he let up a single or a double to right field, and he sprinted to third base to cover it like a good pitcher should. I mean, he's one of the toughest guys in baseball, if not the toughest pitcher in baseball. But we get another good pitching matchup. This is tomorrow night.
Yes.
Steven Strasburg, Justin Verlander, possible clinching game for the Houston Astros. Game 6 of the World Series. Gonna be a lot of fun. Gonna be a lot of fun because it's like a Houston revenge game and it's like a national survival game, all sort of packed in one. I mean, this series hasn't lived up in the close games because there's been one actual close game.
I mean, they've still been really fun though.
Oh yeah,
every single game, just because there has still been a lot of back and forth, and we know that the Nationals never say die, and the Nationals will still continually late in the game make threats, and even the games that Houston lost, they made a threat in the 7th or 8th or 9th that made you think, okay, they could still win this game, and then I said it on Warner's show on Friday. I knew the Astros were going to just go and say, all right, you swept us at home, now we're going to take them all from you in these next 3 games and make you feel so bad about yourself.
Not letting up more than 2 runs either after a embarrassment of a 12-3 loss.
Did you see Garrett Cole's curveball and fastball? Did you see
the overlays? Yeah. Give me all the Garrett Cole pitching overlays and for the rest of my life. Just inject them straight into my brain.
I was like, good Lord.
Yeah.
That's unhittable.
Is he going to get the biggest pitching contract ever this summer?
Yes, because he's that good, and Scott Boras is his agent.
Yeah.
And so he's
getting him. Scott Boras is his agent.
I hate that in baseball free agency we have to deal with Scott Boras.
Yeah. I mean, I think Greinke set the record for annual salary. Price set the record for overall. And Price's overall was $210. And Cole's just going to blow that completely.
Do you think Cole eclipses 300 or no? That's crazy.
It's tough. I think that's pretty crazy, just because.
I think he would just miss it. I don't think he would get it.
Yeah, I think
he would get close.
But I think he's 260, 275
I think he's somewhere
range.
in the 270 range.
That's still astronomical.
Because he's 29, and it's going to be a probably 6-year contract, you would imagine. You can't justify paying a starting pitcher that much money over the next 6 years when he's going to be in his 33, 34, 35 seasons. Even though Garrett Cole has had really good luck with injuries over his career. I don't think he's had Tommy John. If he did, it was when he was in college. And he's never really been down and out for too long. I think it would be hilarious, though, if he just took a 2-year, $90 million contract from the Astros. Just
ran it back. And
just as a screw you to the rest of the league. Just hey, we're keeping the band back together. We're going to keep running it back. That would be hilarious to me.
From what I'm reading right now, this is just one guy, and it was just something that I looked up because I was curious to see what teams people think, because we'll get to that, what teams Garrett Cole might go to. But this guy thinks 7 years, $252 million.
Crazy.
I mean, that's still by and large largest pitching contract, even if it doesn't reach that 60-75 range that we talked about. But and the thing is, we know Scott Boras. He's going to fight for those crazy numbers.
And he'll drag this out until February, March, until he'll
drag. I mean, as we've seen, he'll drag it out until April if he really wants to.
Yep.
But Jake, you're our baseball guy. Where do you think are the likely landing places for Garrett Cole? With the money he's going to ask for, the team needs, and just everything.
Angels, Padres, because he went to UCLA. He's a SoCal guy, and the Angels have the need. Who doesn't want to play with Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani?
And same thing. Joe Madden.
Same thing, yeah. And Joe Madden's a huge players coach. We've seen this formula, and I've said that on the show before.
John Lester when Joe Madden got hired.
Exactly.
Right there.
Padres, I think they just have a great farm system, and they have the talent with Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis. Those are the top 2. I think the Dodgers and the Yankees are always going to be around there. The Yankees certainly have the need, and they just watched him first-hand account of what he can do and how he can help you. And then I like the Astros still. I think the Astros say, hey, or Justin Verlander goes up to Garrett Cole, hey man, let's do it again. Like, let's go back to back. Let's do 3 in a row. Why not? We have Bregman, we have Springer, we have Correa, we have Altuve. I'm here. Greinke's here. Let's just do it again. And I could totally see Garrett Cole going, okay, cool. Let's just do it. So I think those are the top. And then the dark horse is going to be the White Sox.
Yeah.
They need it bad.
Yeah.
They need someone bad.
And they have money now.
They have the money. They just waived 5 guys. Their 40-man roster, they only have 35 guys on it right now. So they're already trimming fat, getting ready to do this. I think they're a dark horse. After losing out on Machado and Harper last year, they're going to want to get someone. They're going to want a marquee guy.
One NBA thing. Kendrick Nunn leads all rookies in scoring after week 1 of the NBA.
It's hilarious. It's awesome. Good for him.
Yeah. That's going to do it for our show today. Ran a little long.
I'm on my smoothie cleanse.
Yep, Jake's on his smoothie cleanse. It was day 1 of Jake's smoothie cleanse today.
Oh, nice.
So the Wednesday, what would that be? November
6th.
November 6th is the day that we will find out who's paying who, $20.
I have to Snapchat Nathan every single time.
I got the one from a late lunch sort of.
I'll be doing another one when I go home right now.
That's good. Yeah, I told Brendyn I'm treating myself some Chick-fil-A after all the stress that it took of bringing you guys this show, studio floods, figuring things out, working with Jason, working with these guys, figuring out where we're gonna do it and how we're gonna do it, and here we are doing it, man. And good for us, and good for Illinois for a good weekend.
Let no one ever say we don't have a work ethic.
Yeah.
No one say that we are not committed to this show.
If you thought this show was a joke, you don't know.
Is, but
but we'll work hard to get it to you guys. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you to just everybody that made this show and kept things afloat possible. That's going to do it for us. Alex, I would tell you to hit the music, but there's no music for you to hit. So hey, team on 3. 1, 2, 3, team.